Hi, and welcome to Space Channel 9, and I'm your host, Maddie Murray. So, today's topic, ghouls, ghosts, gas, and other things within the realm of the supernatural world, have kind of always been in the topic of horror. Gothic horror itself focuses on the idea of the unknown and how we as human beings can become obsessed and paranoid in relation to these things. I personally think that the show that best portrays this was The Haunting of Hill House, which is an adaptation of the Gothic horror novel by, I believe, Shirley Jackson, which I have not read. And because I don't like Gothic horror as like a literary genre, I probably won't read, because it's just too slow. Not my thing. Today, we'll not be discussing that television show in particular, but ask the question of what makes us afraid of these types of things. Before I go any further, I do want to say that the topic of the supernatural often delves into the religious conversation, which can be controversial to some people. So you're completely free to click away and enjoy some other horror topics that are coming up, such as children's horror or AI horror, and the final one will be space horror, which is the one I'm most excited about because I am a nerd in every sense of that word. So with that warning out of the way, let's begin.
Now dig on this.
Generally don't find horror in the realm of supernatural to be particularly terrifying. It kind of expects you to believe in, an afterlife and thusly being, I don't know, like banned from the afterlife and being stuck on Earth, like the ghosts in like Harry Potter or something. And since I don't really believe in ghouls and ghosts and I'm not, heavily religious, demons and stuff like that are kind of off the table for me as well. Um, so it's kind of hard for me to believe in supernatural horror itself because, I mean, honestly, what is it if not feeding on your beliefs of the afterlife? I did my bits of research for this topic by watching The Conjuring, which I personally believe to be the most kind of the most prominent supernatural horror like today. I read Carrie, which I know it's not like a ghost story, but I didn't want to go there. And I played Inscryption. So I'm gonna start off with Carrie. I read Carrie by Stephen King. Mostly because I didn't want to read another ghost story or like a haunting story. I know they're big, and I go to the horror section of Barnes and Nobles, and it's either like ghost crap or Stephen King sometimes crap. So your options are super duper limited unless you want to read like on Kindle, because I know a lot of Kindle free books have a variety of options. In the realm of horror and like supernatural horror, but like I can read on the Kindle, but like my eyesight is legitimate shit, so it's a little bit hard for me. Um, the the version of Carrie I got had like bigger print, and I may be 21, but I have the eyesight of a 75-year-old woman, so it helps. Uh, yeah. So Stephen King for me is a bit of a hit or miss author. I know some people believe he can do no wrong, but let's be honest, if anyone has read it, you know Stephen King can do wrong. I mean, that was no. Foregoing the discussion of a female high school experience, this novel did rely heavily on the idea of her supernaturals, as in Carrie White's supernatural powers being thought of as the devil's gift by her mother. And religion kind of runs through the foundation of the novel and is ultimately undoing of Carrie as well as her mother, Mrs. White. Like I said, I'm not going to go into the idea of the female high school experience because reading the book was a little bit disconcerting in that realm. Obviously, I didn't go to a small high school and I didn't go to a high school in the 70s or 60s, so I don't really know how things like that would have gone, and I'm not sure if some of the events would have taken place. Obviously, in my bigger high school, I don't think they would have, so for me, it's a little bit like it's not really believable. Like all of the girls participating in bullying and Carrie specifically being kind of weeded out as this, ridiculously, I don't know. I can't even think of the word. Like a person who's just completely of an outcast. I mean, I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, I'm gonna be honest. And I never was kind of ganged up on like this, in any way. So I suppose it depends. It just seems exaggerated. So basically, Carrie's mother is deeply religious and heavily abusive towards Carrie, which is obvious and is kind of referenced as being obvious and throughout the book. Like some of the teachers even notice it and don't do anything. And there's also a connection I suppose you can make to kind of that newer movie Red, where it's kind of in relation to her coming of age, getting a period for a woman and her latent telekinetic abilities kind of rising through her maturation. Um, which is always kind of set up in a weird way, because like I said, it's a male author, so kind of having a male author go off about like female puberty is a little odd. I mean, as a woman, it's a little odd. Um, I mean, she's very sheltered in the book, and she's kind of described as being like dowdy, when she dresses. And obviously, if you've seen either of the movies, those two women are nothing like Carrie in the book. Carrie's supposed to be like a little bit overweight and a little bit, she like dresses dowdy, and everyone thinks she kind of looks like, for lack of a better term, like shit. But like in the movies, they're like really pretty women, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, that just reminds me of is it Ready Player One? Yeah, Ready Player One, where like the girl has like the like tiny birthmark on her face. It's like, I'm so ugly. And in the book she's supposed to be like overweight and stuff, and like you made her this like, I don't know, like really pretty woman with like a tiny birthmark, and I'm like, well, that's fucking nice. Excuse my language. Yeah, in the end of the book, they pour the bucket of blood on her head, as you probably are very aware, and she goes on a telekinetic rampage, killing the entire prom and many other people within the prom and outside of the prom, and just a lot of people die at the end of this book. It's an exciting bit of the book, but despite the length of the novel, it feels like it takes a really long time to get there, if I'm gonna be honest, and it's a little bit like, Jesus, like, wow. Um, Carrie is less of a story about the supernatural world, and more about like what abuse and bullying can do to a person, especially if it's done to like the wrong type of person. When they say like, "Oh, watch out who you bully when they're younger." This is like an example of that, but like if the person you bullied was a member of Professor X's school for the gifted and they just, I don't know, blew you up with their mind or something. That's kind of the level that we're talking about. I didn't find it scary. I did enjoy that it focused on the dangers of abuse and kind of how that can mentally shape a person, as opposed to like whether telekinesis is a real danger. Because like obviously, I mean, as far as we know, the human mind can't do that kind of shit. I mean, if it could, that'd be sick. But like obviously, I wouldn't have those skills. I wish I did. Don't make my life fucking easier. Like the book is a little deeper than I thought it would be, but it's not like scary, and none of the supernatural elements are scary. If anything, you want Carrie to like absolutely obliterate this entire town, if I'm gonna be honest. Like when I was reading it and she was like, "I'm gonna kill these people," I was like, "Go ahead. I have no connection. Just fucking blow them up. Bye, bitch. Gone. I don't care." Yeah, no. To move on from Carrie, because I watched the movie, but I didn't really get into it because like supernatural is not like technically supernatural. I watched The Conjuring 3, which is a new addition to the Conjuring series, or like, is it a Conjuring 3? It's the Devil Made Me Do It one. I'm not. There's so many in that series, but like there's all these like peripheral stories, like the Annabelle one and the Nun and all that crap, and I really can't keep up. But I focus on The Conjuring 3 because it's like the new one, and I have HBO Max, so that's like what I had access to and would rather watch because I hadn't seen it over like something else. I wasn't impressed. It wasn't a great movie. My mom is really into them. I'm not. Like bar going deep into the specifics of the film, honestly, the film like jumped the shark at the end. And while the supernatural elements of like the demons possessing people and all that crap was like interesting, and it kind of delved into the idea of like especially like, it was very like emotional, and how like the character Arnie like saves the people he loves despite him being like taken over by a demon and all that crap. Like it's very like emotional and interesting in that realm, but like the supernatural parts, hit or miss, man. It is not very good. And then the ending with the, spoiler alert, reveal of like the witch, that was when it jumped the shark for me, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. There's a witch, and she's casting spells, and it jumped the shark completely in a way I can't even like accurately describe personally. I didn't even I don't even know. I mean, yeah, like I think they do well with the idea of like the demon stuff, and it does. There's a lot of jump scares, and there was only one time I think I felt like kind of like ooh. It was when like he was like trying to back away in the dog kennel area, and the guy like came out and he was like a dog man demon, and I was interested in that kind of visualization. I thought that was fun and cool. Um, but to be honest, like the whole exterior of the story was just really not the thing for me, and it wasn't super duper interesting, and it wasn't super duper like I don't know, it just wasn't satisfying as a person watching a movie, and it wasn't really scary because I feel like The Conjuring and all that stuff, they heavily rely on like jump scares, which I'm not like the biggest fan of. I think it's a cheap way to get a reaction from your audience. And I think that in games too, a lot of the times, they have more of a purpose in video games, I feel, but it's still a cheap way to get a reaction from an audience member, like, oh, the room's dark, and then you're looking in a mirror, and then, oh, something's behind you. And yeah, you'll get that feeling from it, and you're like, ah, but like, are you really scared because, like, the thing is scary, or are you scared because you didn't expect it to happen? That's where like my problems with that kind of stuff comes, because I feel like you're not scared because of the actual like plot line of the film or the demons, the ghosts. You're just scared because like something jumped out at you. Which to me like it loses its entire point. Like what is the point, if you're just scared of the like surprise, it doesn't really add much. I guess that leads in a way to Inscryption, which I mean, this is the meat of the meal when it comes to talking about my supernatural stuff. Like video games itself. Video games, they kill it in the terms of supernatural scary stuff. Um, I mean, I think it's more scary because you're in the perspective of like the person. Like first person horror is big right now, and being in this perspective of the character, you kind of feel a little bit more like on edge. You feel a little bit more scared. You're actually like you're the jump scares have more of a purpose, like I said. Like if you're in the first person seat and you're kind of walking through this scary hallway, it makes me think of like the PT or the playable teaser that was supposed to be for the Silent Hill game, but that all fell through with Kojima and everything. Um, like that. Like where you're walking through this like endless hallway and then something random happens. And it's like sometimes it's not even a jump scare. Like that like Eraserhead baby that was in I mean Eraserhead baby is in like the movie Eraserhead, just so we're all on the same page. Like the baby. It looks like the baby like for Eraserhead. The Eraserhead baby in the sink. Like that wasn't even a jump scare, but it got you. And I think that's like I just think that supernatural horror excels in the realm of video games. So Inscryption, it has exceptional composition and creation. It's fun and creepy, mysterious. It's just all together. And if you're watching this in the background, it's me playing Inscryption. Poorly in the beginning, let's be honest with ourselves. But, it's kind of a thing you have to build up. and you learn more from it, and it's really cool, and there's all these puzzles and shit. It's so cool. So the game revolves around playing a card game with like an entity or a demon in the woods. I didn't like finish. I'm not even sure you can finish the game. That's what I kind of wonder, because like I didn't like. I mean, I'm sure you can, but I didn't, because I played it and played it, but you eventually die. Like, I don't know how you can survive that long. So I would assume that we, the character, are like dead, or we're dying and we're trying to escape like the grasp of hell or something. But a lot of the game is left up to the imagination. I mean, you discover things through like different puzzles. And I never got to get out of the cabin. I don't know if you can. I obviously didn't watch like a playthrough or anything, because I wanted to have a good experience of like playing it on my own, um, without like an exterior like knowledge of it. So I didn't watch any playthroughs. So I don't know if you can get out of the cabin, because I fucking didn't. But I really enjoyed it, and I like that when you die, they take a little picture of you and you become a car. It's really fun. Oh, how do you even say it? The graphics are like so pretty. I don't even get it. Like it's 8-bit, but then it's like realistic, and like the hands look really good and like very artistically done, and the masks and stuff that the entity thing puts on, so like visually stunning. It's oh man, the coloration, the saturation of the game. There's so much ambience. a- ambiance, whatever the fuck. I don't know. That's like how this game thrives. You're in this dark cabin. It is storming outside. You are playing essentially a game of life with this thing, and you need to try to get out, but you can't. And like some of the cards are like alive, right? So they'll talk to you. Like I think it's like the stout is one that always like talks to you and is like, don't do that, don't do that. So like other people's souls are trapped here, and it's really cool. And because there's like so little like actual like the noises and every creak and everything that happens is always like it keeps you on edge, because like when you're walking around the cabin and you're trying to solve the puzzles, like the thing's eyes are always on you. You could turn around, it's looking at you, and you can never get close enough to it. Like I've tried, you can't. And I think it just makes it so perfect, because like you don't know what the hell that thing is, and you don't know what's going on, and you might discover some of the puzzles. Like I got the knife and everything. Like I got the knife, I did that. I did a few other puzzles, but it's still like I don't even know how far I would have gotten technically. I don't know how long it is, and I don't know if there's like an end game for it. Like I said, like the sound design. Oh, it's so good. And oh, the boss's sound design. That's something that needs to be talked about. So the first boss is the prospector. You have to fight the prospector like every time. Um, Unless you get to the next boss, and then I think it just carries over that you don't have to again, but I'm not sure, because I did a few times and it carried over that I didn't have to, but I think it depends. I don't know. So like the first boss is the prospector, and like it has this like pickaxe sound that's kind of like scary as hell. And then the fisherman has like the fishing like water sounds, and it's it's really creepy, and it's so well done that like you feel like tension that, I mean, ooh, no, no. Sorry, a little fuzzy came off my pillow that's at my chair. That it's like interesting. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like really nice and like scary. I do recommend this. It's not like an expensive game. It's like $20, I think. I mean, depending on what you consider an expensive game to be. I wouldn't say it's like super expensive, because new games are like $60. This one's like 20, and it's fun and it's creepy. Um, I think this game is like something special in the mechanics, though. The card game aspect and like the puzzles and the board game type aspect of it, it just marries really well in kind of multiple types of horror. 'Cause like I play a lot of board games with my family, and horror board games are like I don't know, really fun. We have like Fury of Dracula, which I haven't played in a while. My brother, he lives in Hawaii and is like, doing his own shit. So we don't get to do like family board games except for like during Christmas and stuff. But like Fury of Dracula is like nerve-wracking. You need to have all this shit to kill Dracula, and if you don't, I mean you die, you get eaten. And then like we have the Thing board game, which I bought my dad for his birthday, I think, or Christmas, a holiday of sorts. It's back when like Think Geek was still a thing and wasn't bought by GameStop. And that was before the whole GameStop thing, so it was a long time ago. But it's really great because like one person is it's so cool. But like no one really talks about like horror board games a lot anymore or like kind of at all, I feel. And there's just so much, there's such a treasure trove there. And I think this one used that so well. It used those aspects so well because horror board games aren't really, I don't know, I don't really see a lot of them. I don't see anyone playing them. I see like fucking Fortnite and shit like that. And it gets really tiring as like a game design student and someone who loves game design. It gets tiring to see that, you don't want to see the same crap over and over and over again. I personally don't. So this game itself is just so like, I don't know. It's so well done. Um yeah, I could really sing praises for it a lot because it's one of my favorite games that I've played that's like a more indie game. Because I've played a lot of big name games, but they're not exactly what I would call like, they don't always win. Like I think Resident Evil a lot of time is good. I think Resident Evil 7 really succeeded, you know, in bringing back that kind of like slow burn creepy puzzle horror from like the original Resident Evil games, but like, Resident Evil 5 and 6, there was a lot of just like the pull out to the action horror, and that's kind of really big right now, and I think that's cool, and I think that's great. But, there's still a place for like a real slow burn horror and like ambience level horror in the video game world that isn't like some shitty amnesia like mod. So I think that Inscryption's the way to go. I mean, especially if you're looking for something that's like different. I think it's different. I think I saw that some people, like some streamers, played it on Twitch. I don't really like delve deep into that realm of the internet, but I mean, if you've seen that or if you want to just look at what it like looks like, you can do that. I'd recommend it though. I really liked it. I really do like it. It's fun and cool and different. It's different. And it brings something that I think is so much better than like a movie or a book. I never really scared of books. I don't know if I said that before. I'm just not like scared of, but I've never been scared of a book ever. Well, no, like when I was a kid, maybe like once or twice. But I was like a kid, and I think that there's a difference. Like Goosebumps hits when you're like a child. It doesn't hit when you're like 21 and insomnia ridden. Like you're not gonna see things the same way. I think in my next unit, children's horror, Coraline does hit me in a way that like most other things do, but I think that's just because Coraline is, it's something else. Like Neil Gaiman is a something else writer, and I know Stephen King is a something else writer, but this Carrie just didn't hit. And I've read a few other of his like kind of, I mean most of them have supernatural elements. Like I've read It. That was too much of my time, I think, wasted. And it just doesn't scare me. It's not that like I can't visualize what's in a novel, because I can. It just doesn't hit me right. I think in the way that some other people get, you know, true like goosebumps from a book. Excuse the pun. Yeah, no. Movies. I don't like the Conjuring series. Like I said, like my mom likes the Conjuring series. She loves supernatural horror. That's her thing. It's not my thing. I prefer like horror that is realistic to me. And I didn't focus on any of that in any of my units that I'm kind of, getting on because I don't think there's a huge place for it. Um, 'Cause like what scares me is like listening to serial killer just like talk on those tapes, like the serial killer tapes that are on like Netflix. Like that shit scares me because I don't want to die by someone I don't know. I mean, I want to die by someone I don't know. Let's get that straight. But I don't like serial killers are real things, and that should scare you. Like the reality that humanity is a horrible, awful, terrible, no good, very bad thing that can kill people for enjoyment rather than like food. Like we are animals to the next level, and while animals usually kill for like, I don't know, territory or food, we just kill for fun, and that's a problem, you know? That's a problem. And that scares me. But like supernatural movies, Jesus, no. I mean, I always hate. This thing I do want to say is I do hate that the Conjuring movies often say based on a true story or like based on a real story. Da, 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 da. Because it's not really. It's an event that they say happened, but like did it, and it feels misleading. Like The Devil Made Me Do It kind of made me upset when it came out because I just felt it was really misleading and you shouldn't say that something's a true story when it's kind of not. Like that's what he went with in court. But I just assumed that the guy was actually like the real Arnie because it was a real court case. He was just trying to like protect his girlfriend and his family. And he thought this dude was like being a huge ass and was, touching up on his girlfriend and he accidentally or not even accidentally killed him. I don't think that there was anything else going on there. And that's just because maybe I'm like a asshole. I don't know. I could be. Honestly, could be. But I just think there's not really a huge place to call that like a true story. There's something like Amityville Horror and all those kinds of stuff where it's like, this is based on a true event. And I'm like, it's based on someone's, like, I don't know, idea of what happened rather than, like, if there's something unexplainable, they say it's a ghost, but that doesn't mean that it was. I mean, you've watched Ghost Hunters. Come on. Like, if I was going to bring up something ridiculous, I would bring up Ghost Hunters, where, like, someone steps on a twig, and they're like, what's your name? Are you trying to speak to us? And it's like, no, someone stepped on a twig. It's fine. So, yeah. Movies are not... I'm never scared of a supernatural movie. I think, like, the only thing that ever got me, like, actually got me supernaturally was, like, The Babadook. Because it was more like idea based rather than like a real thing. I understand they made it it's like a real thing at the end and you saw it, but I preferred it when it was like, is it in her head? Is it not? Because that's like psychological horror, right? Like that's psychological and that's scary because like I don't know, depression's real, schizophrenia's real. People suffer from these things all the time, and what's scarier than being unable to live in your own head? That's scary as hell. But not a ghost. A ghost is not scary. A demon does not scare me because honestly, I don't think holy water would work on me. I haven't gone to church in years. Like I said, I wasn't trying to be too controversial, but like I haven't gone to church in absolutely a very long time, so I don't know, man. Holy water would probably burn me too. Like I said, I do think the reality is that video games is that's where to go if you want supernatural horror. And not everyone's thing is video games, and that's totally fine. But like if you want to actually feel scared by playing something or like watching something, a video game's the absolute way to go. I'm actually scared when I play these types of games. I am actually nervous when I'm being chased around a house by something. Because it's scary. I'm actually nervous sitting across from this like entity thing and I'm trying to survive. I don't want to die. Like that's how it should be done. I should be really scared. But like even when I'm in the perspective of like a character in a book, I'm just like, okay. And what? Like I don't care. That's why video games are the way to go. I mean, I feel like I'm just going to end up beating the drum of video games a lot, except for I think in the next unit, children's horror. I won't. Um, But that's because I have a personal, like, interest in it. Similarly with AI horror, I think specifically in that game that I'm going to cover, it works. But I'm not sure anywhere else that it works. So I mean, this is the conclusion. Obviously, I went through each three things that I did. I decided that what makes supernatural horror scary is if it's in a video game and literally nothing else. Like, why are we scared of it? I mean, obviously, it's everyone's personal idea. We're scared of the things we don't understand. We're scared of the things we can't explain. So we're scared of, like, the TV turning on its own because we don't know why that happened and we could think it's something else. Being scared of the unknown is a normal human thing. That's totally cool. That's fine. But everything else is. I mean, I've never seen a ghost, never had experiences. My mom says that she is spiritual and that sometimes we can't explain things. And that's fair. That's her belief system, not mine. I believe, let's not get too into it, but let me just kind of overview for the world of why I'm not scared of supernatural horror. I believe that we are on one planet of millions. I believe we are completely coincidental to exist. And that when we're done, it's over and there's nothing else. Because I feel like if science can't back it up, I'm not sure I'm gonna believe in, like, magical shit. I would love there to be a heaven. Preferably not the heaven that is, outlined in Milton's Paradise Lost. But, like, a heaven where things are nice and I can, like, have I don't know, peach daiquiri on the beach when I die. But that isn't real. And I'm not gonna have a peach daiquiri on the beach when I die. I'm just gonna die. So why would I believe in demons and ghosts and shit? I just don't. But there's a place for it. I mean, I didn't find zombies scary. I mean, to be honest, if I was in the real predicament, would I be scared? Absolutely. But, like, I read books about it and I watch movies and I'm like, why are you doing that stupid shit? Like, I mean, I do archery and I'm not a crack shot by any term, so I'd probably be screwed. But the point is that, like, I think in the situation of being in a zombie apocalypse, you'd be scared. But, like, in the situation of having a ghost, I feel like it only scares you if you think it's real. Like, I don't. So why would I be scared of it? And the only way you can get me scared of supernatural shit is if I'm sitting on my computer or on a big screen playing a video game where something's coming at me. Because then I'm going to freak out. But beyond that, I'm not. So, that is my conclusion. I'm not scared of supernatural horror, but if you are scared of supernatural horror, I'm sure it's because the unexplainable scares you, the unknown scares you, the idea of an afterlife or being trapped on Earth as an afterlife is scary to you, and that's fine. But if you're scared of a movie because of jump scares, you're not scared of supernatural stuff. You're scared of something that surprises you. You're scared of something that makes your heart jump. Not the same thing. Just want to put that out there so that you'd be aware. Obviously, I'm biased against supernatural horror, so my opinion is my opinion. And that's what it is. You can disagree. That's totally cool. This has been kind of shorter than my first two. And I feel like the rest of them are going to be shorter as well because I'm getting more succinct with my ideas, I think. I rambled a lot, but now I am more succinct. And, less cognizant, I feel. But thank you for listening. This has been Space Channel 9. And I don't know, tune in next time. Thanks.